I'm sending this out to my subscribers. A couple of them I consider to be dear friends. This is a natural ice. Do you know that I have not drank for, I think it's been like 4 days or 5 days, because my foot isn't hurting. Do you know why I'm drinking right now? Because I don't know what to do. I want to thank a couple of my subscribers. One of them is fairly new. That God's Israel. Well, you know how I'm big with sharing my boring life with you, right? I said, I'm not going to be able to get to sleep tonight unless I go and I just down a beer. I'm not going to drink 2, but I'm going to drink 1 so I can knock out. Why? You know why. I'm so grateful to the people that I have here on my channel. I know there's only a few, but you have to remember I've been bounced twice. And when you're me, it's hard to remember what's been taken away and what still remains. So I want to say something to my people, because I was weeping a little bit earlier. I was weeping. And RL2, and God's land, Israel, came on. And comforted me with comments. And you don't know how it feels. You know why? Because it's like being in a Ray Bradbury or Isaac Asimov or Gene Roddenberry science fiction novel. Or The Outer Limits is more accurate. Really, The Outer Limits. Or Twilight Zone comes to mind. Folks, I want to make this clear, because I didn't realize it until about 5 minutes ago. You can buy beer here until 2 a.m. and it is 1 a.m. right now. Folks, I didn't do well in school. That is an understatement. That is an understatement. Now, sorry, folks, I don't like the taste of beer. I'm part American Indian, and it's all fire water to me. It all tastes like fire. But it's liquor is quicker. You know, Candy's Dandy, which I actually already had. I had a little bit of this chocolate. Well, I went down here to our local Pakistani place. You're familiar with it. I'm sure that you have an Apu in your area. And do you know what happens when you get enough Apu's? That's in The Simpsons. The guy who owned the store, the Indian guy or the Pakistani guy, he was called Apu, which they're taking off now because it's offensive. That's what I heard. You know what happens when you get enough of them? And enough Latinos? And enough Orientals and Filipinos and et cetera, et cetera. You know what happens? You don't have enough indigenous whites, United States, and black too, black and white, because we were here the longest. You know what happens? You become outnumbered. You know what happens when you become outnumbered? Your voice is not heard, at least not in any number. Now, I went down to buy this 4-pack, and Apu, and I want to make sure that you understand this, because you're going to sit here, and those of you who have just tuned in are going to realize that I'm a dickhead asshole, but I'm not a dickhead asshole. And I know a lot more than what you think. And part of that was because I was able to get a partial elite education. Yes, that means at some points in my childhood and youth, I walked into the area where we ate breakfast at that private school that my mother suffered so much to get me into, even though temporarily. And they said, do you want blueberry pancakes, banana pancakes, or regular pancakes? Sausage or bacon with it? I can't describe this to you more. The beauty of New England and the beauty of the people that were around me that I was too young to really understand. The quality of intellect of the people at that time helped me to learn. Not just book learning, but learn something different. I can't explain it to you. I'll tell you this real quick story. I don't want to get tied up in it. Some of you heard it because you come from my other channel. My mom was not a perfect woman. She was American Indian. We were Cherokee. And my mom was desperate for me to go to American Indian school on a scholarship, which I did. Because I didn't look Indian, it was not met well. It was met with great resistance because, number one, most of the American Indians are alcoholic and drug addicts. I'm sorry to tell you that. That was my experience. That may not be true, but many of them were severely alcoholic. And there was one guy to this day, I still remember his name. His name was Marvin Ketchum. And if he's listening or if he knows that he's seen this, I hope you're still alive. Because you taught me so much. One day I was alone with Marvin, and Marvin was on drugs and drinking in the dorm that we were at. Sorry, folks, I said I would only drink one, but I'm going to have to do a double here. I'm sorry about that. I really am. And Marvin was talking to me some light things, and then it got a little bit more intense. I told this story on my last channel. And essentially what he wanted to do is get me to understand that I didn't belong there. And he was a Navajo Indian, and he spoke Navajo, which was indecipherable as you can talk to the people in World War II or talk to the Japanese, because they broke every code we ever had, and they could not break the Navajo code, the Wind Talkers. Which I joke about the French and, Macron, and how it just goes by. That's where that comes from. The Japanese, to be fair, did break a couple of words. They knew that torca meant, I think that's the way you say it, Navajo, it meant turtle. That was a tank. Other than that, they didn't break many of their codes, because the Navajo language is so complicated that I don't have time to explain it to you. There's not a word for each different things. It's the way that you say a series of words that changes the meaning in Navajo. It's a very complex language that you have to learn from when you're young. But what happened was, he tried to make me understand. And I think he was trying to say, basically, you don't look Indian. You're not Indian. What are you doing here? And I kept arguing with him. And we were all alone there. And I was kind of a runt. I was only 16 at that time, and I was kind of a runt. And he was friends with the real bad kids that were there. But Marvin had a heart. You know why? Because he jumped up and he mounted me. He jumped up like you were going to cut somebody's scalp off. And he did it so quickly I didn't even know what was going on. And he jumped up on me and went like this, and took his fist like this and went like this. And I realized what was going on. But then my body let go, because I realized that there was nothing I could do. And Marvin understood. He knew what was happening. He knew I wasn't responsible. It was my mother feeding me all of this. He put his hand down, and he walked away sheepishly, without saying a word, with his head down. And Marvin Ketchum, if you're still alive today, I want to thank you, because you actually helped me in my life. You're a pretty decent young man at that time, and I know what was going on. You're a good person. So I had all different sorts of education. I don't want you to think I was stuck in whatever. Standard school or whatever. I went to public school too, mostly. The point I'm telling you is that I took from it. And I didn't know how much that I would take, but I took quite a bit. So the combination of my natural affinity to chess, the studying and the immersion into pro-American football and the strategies and the chicanery of it, and a basic understanding of underhandedness in life. It gave me the ability to understand what's going on. Three years ago, I had a Jewish guy that came over and picked me up from Charlotte's house when Charlotte was still alive, and I was doing my perfumes because I had a lot of them. And he picked me up and he said that he wanted to do a video, and I went to his house. And we did a little video. I might put it up there for you. I think his name is called Mr. Miami Cuddles. He's a decent guy. But at that time, 3 years ago, Christmas, maybe more than that, I think it's 3 years. It was probably a year from Trump's non-re-election. He drove me home because I went home with him in his car, to do the video, which I'll put up here. I had it on my other channel, but I'll put it up on this channel too. It's a whole video of us. And he kept asking me why I was so, freaked out. And I told him, I said, something's not right. He said, why are you so freaked out? What's not right? I said, I don't know. Something's not right. I said, something has to be done. We have to go into a kind of something law where somebody takes over. I can't say it here. And he was actually a Jewish guy who was a teacher of kindergarten kids, as far as I know, who possessed a very substantial weapon. And he was to the right, believe it or not. The problem was he didn't understand. He was essentially a Bolshevik, and he didn't understand, although he was for Trump. And he just couldn't figure me out. And I said, something has to be done, because you could see this going in the way of the far left, not the left, the far left. He dropped me off. I never saw him again. You can check out his station, Mr. Miami Cuddles, I think is his name. Good guy, nice guy, but clueless. And he just kind of essentially dismissed me. But I told you folks this before. I kept going on Breitbart saying something has to be done because it's not right. It's being taken over. We are being taken over. Excuse me, folks. I'm sorry. And I knew it then. What I didn't know was that it would be the way it is. As in jabbing and this. I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be something along the line of you get to go back to your house and you can't go out at night and everything would be shepherded. That's what I thought it was. I was wrong. I'm sorry to tell you, I never saw any of this coming. Otherwise, I would have prepared for it, or there was nothing I could do anyway. Because the only people that will have a chance are people who own their own property that is far off the beaten path, and there is no way I could do that. So I knew it 3 years ago. Now, Apu, I want to tell you, this is a complicated affair. Apu, one of our local Pakistani Muslim products here, is a decent man. You know how I know that? Because he's helped me before. When he saw that I needed air in my tire, he paid for it. When I gave him $2 for gas, he gave me $3 in gas. Do you understand what I just said, folks? He's a decent person. He's got a good heart. When I needed protein, because I was doing plasma, he gave me cashews. Do you understand that? Because I told him. I said, that's what I'm doing. That's the hole in my arm that he saw. He's not a bad person. Do you understand now what I'm telling you? I'm not trying to put anyone down. I want to show you something. I want you to see this. And I want you to understand. Because many of you probably won't understand this. And I want to make sure you understand this because I'm going to end the video. This is a German death card site. And I'm going to show you something. I want you to look at it good. And it'll take me a couple of minutes to get to it because I have to fast forward. And I'm not trying to show you cards per se. I want to get to the one that I want you to see. And it was just what I thought of at the time. This is what I thought of, and I want to show it to you. I want to make sure you understand this, if it's still here. And please forgive me because this is not easy. I'm trying to pull this up. I'll put it on pause. Stand by. I found it. I want you to take a look at this because it's germane to what I'm going to tell you. And yes, I know I've been drinking, but I'm in my right mind. I want you to take a look at a decent man. I translated this out. What does that look like to you? You know what it looks like to me? A Fred McMurray type of father. He wasn't going to win any dancing contests. And he didn't know all the top 40 hits. But he was a pretty decent man. You know how I know that? Because I have Translate on this phone. And in the writing, you know what it says about this man? It said he was a good father. And it said, you were so good. Do you think I believe it? I do. Why do I believe it? Look at the man. All it takes is compliance and the belief, even in a minimal aspect, in a wrong belief. And you doom your people. This is the exact one that I wanted you to show. That I wanted to show you. I'm sorry, I'm starting to get 3 sheets to the wind. I won't be able to go to sleep. Because I'm so troubled tonight. I wanted this card, but I can't get it. Because the dealer won't sell it to me. Because I don't have a physical home address right now, and he won't ship to a P.O. box. That notwithstanding, the point remains. He was a loving, decent man who did not understand what he was perpetuating. And that's exactly what we have, folks. Apu here is a decent man. But I talked to him today when I was buying this for a pack. And I just kind of, you know, the dumb dildo routine. But it wasn't quite so dumb dildo-ish. I just said, you know what's going to happen? I said in Los Angeles, as of tonight, if you're not jabbed, you don't get to go into a store. You don't get to go into a library. You don't get to go into a nightclub. You know what he said? Without missing a beat. Good. When I was paying for this, you know what I said to him? I said, what's next? He said he didn't know. I said, will it be 3 shots? Will it be 7? He said he didn't know. And you know what I've determined? Some of us are extremely intelligent, and others are not. I do not know if it's racial. Maybe we'll find out in time. But I had to make this video And I know it was boring, but my message goes out there. I'm so grateful I had the chance to have, at least at times in my life, a quality education. And in death, from my mother, I want to thank her for sacrificing everything she did to put me into those schools for the limited amount of time that I was in there. I thought ping pong was going to be the main thing that I took out of those schools, because up in the Northeast, that's what they do. Down here, we don't. They talk about it, but we don't. But up there, you do. When it's really freezing cold, it's a real common thing. At least that's the way it was in the 70s when I went to school, late 70s. I was pretty good at it. Folks, I will no longer jeopardize my channel because for posterity reasons, I must keep it afloat. I cannot take any more chances, but I will try my best to be here with you daily. Because I somehow still believe that at some point there will be a blade to the throat, to my throat, and I cannot get to my other 2 removed channels as proof of my non-compliance of what's going on. But you stay here on this channel, and you stay with me, because I'm one of the last sane individuals that you will meet. It's a complicated affair. Apu is a decent man, much like the man that I showed you, but he is being misled, and he is a complete, true believer, much like this man right here who perished. Thank you for being here, RL2, RL2. I did not know it was so bad. Thank you for telling me. What you told me. And God's land, Israel. I can't remember your name right now. Thank you for being here for me. It made a difference. God bless you folks, and good night.